I hate Ferengi.
No. Just stop saying that.
I think it was just summarized. Deep Space Nine is great.
It's so great.
Yeah, it definitely goes on some weird tangents throughout. Like it's 8-9 seasons,
1,000 seasons.
Oh man, but I love Deep Space Nine, and the episode we watched, the Magnificent Ferengi, is I love that one so much. It's goofy, but it's got like a really good plot.
Yeah.
Well, I feel bad too because we've made you watch 3 Deep Space Nines now in this podcast, and all 3 have been really heavy Ferengi episodes.
Yes.
I've noticed.
That's kind
You guys
of
are
what
Ferengi heads.
not
true.
what I think the show is. And when I actually watch the rest, I'm going to be. What season and episode was this from? I forgot to.
I don't know.
Season 6, episode 10.
Okay.
Yeah,
This is a good
so
one.
it's a bit like farther along in the show's longevity, and like the war with the Dominion's already happening. I was trying to mull around to see if there was another episode that had more Brunt in it, and there are other episodes that show him doing more of his job, which is a liquidator, or he's part of the Ferengi Commerce Association, the FCA.
Thanks to your brother, I'm no longer with the Ferengi Commerce Authority.
And he has a whole like arc there where he works for it, and he like antagonizes Quark, being like, seizing his assets, his bar, and like Quark is just trying to fight him on all these things. But all those episodes, he doesn't even show up in them that much. And this one's just so fun. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess Brunt is a pretty small character.
Yeah.
Much smaller than Wayun, where Wayun has a lot of screen time, and there's a lot of episodes where he plays a big part. But Brunt, I guess, shows up a lot less. Because after the episode I asked Jackie, I said, like, there's no other episodes where he shows up more?
The other ones, it's pretty equal, and like those episodes aren't as fun as this.
Yeah. He was in this one for a long time, but it was like a Ferengi ensemble piece. Yeah. There were so many unique Ferengi involved.
Since this is Combs' crew, like every time he was on screen and didn't talk, I was like, speak. Give Brunt more screen time.
Yeah, and it's interesting. He started off as Brunt before Wayun.
Oh, really?
Brunt was he first appeared in season 3, and Wayun was season 4. He's played a few other Deep Space Nine characters. They're all like way more minor than Brunt and Wayun, and I forget if Brunt was his first. I think there was a one-off character that he played before Brunt, but I'd have to verify that.
Well, he does stick out as Brunt. Like I do. One, I think it's because it's Combs, but every time he spoke, like the voice he does is really great. You saying it's like a little Southern?
Yeah, it does have like a little Southernness to it. It's also like very essy.
Yeah,
very like. I guess all the Ferengi are a little essy.
I've seen Deep Space Nine, so I know who Brunt is. But if I were seeing this blind, I might not know it was Jeffrey Combs at first. I might need to. Might need to wait for the credits because he looks. You can't tell he's Jeffrey Combs at all visually.
Yeah,
and he doesn't really sound like him. Yeah, he's doing a voice.
Yeah, and especially with a mix of all those different Ferengi, it helps to like remember what his outfit looks like. So you can pinpoint them all.
I was like, who has this certain brooch on? Oh, that's this Ferengi.
And we're kind of skipping ahead to like when he's revealed, but it is such a great reveal too, where do you hear his voice first, and then he kind of steps out of the shadows, like back in the back, and it's like Combs is here.
Combs loves doing that.
Liquidator Brunt! That's X. Liquidator Brunt.
Oh, yeah. That's in like 3 or 4 of the movies we watched so far, or things we've watched so far, is where you hear Combs before you see Combs.
It's true. He says some line like this, and then the camera pans, you see a shadow, and then out steps Jeffrey Combs, and he's always stepping out of shadows.
Yep. That's how we'll introduce him at Combs Con.
Yes, just him saying something or laughing out of sight.
Yeah,
the spotlight hits him.
That'd be glorious.
Yeah.
So, what was your favorite part of the Magnificent Ferengi?
Nog.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
that too. all 3 episodes we've watched have been such
yes.
Nog episodes
So much
too.
Nog.
Nog is the main character of Deep Space Nine, and I will not hear any different.
Apparently. I don't know. Well, Deep Space Nine is the weird Star Trek where they try different stuff and they explore different ideas. So it kind of makes sense that all the Ferengi episodes are the episodes that kind of feel Deep Space Nine-ish. Because normally it's just like this repulsive race that looks disgusting, they sound disgusting, and they're just terrible capitalists. So it doesn't even seem worth exploring them. You know, it's like, why would you even spend time on them? But then Deep Space Nine is like, no, we're going to spend a lot of time on them.
So much time.
A lot of time.
Well, I love in this one how all the little drops of Ferengi culture, which are really fun because they're like, some of them are barely alluded to, like the Ferengi rain slippers. You know, I get that it's real dank on their planet.
What I was gonna say is like, and I think it's a Combs line or a Brunt line where he's like, I miss the rotting vegetables, and they talk about like the dampness and the muck.
Oh, to stand once more in those rivers of muck.
Like, I love that that's the backstory of all of them being like, oh, our homeland, it's so gross.
Yeah, the rotting vegetation, the dampness, the torrential rains of Ferenginar.
Ferenginar.
I love that. And I like how later on they talk about the battle of, it sounds like the battle of Chex Snacks.
Oh,
So I wrote down the battle of Chex Snacks. I don't
I
know.
wrote this down in my 3 pages of notes.
But apparently,
the Battle of Prexnack.
Snack. I'll call it the battle of Chex Snacks. But it's apparently the most important battle in Ferengi history. And there's 10 Ferengi versus like 10,000, what were they? Crap.
Litations?
I almost said Latvians, but that's
No.
like 10,000 something, but the Ferengi just lose.
You've forgotten the Battle of Prexnack?
Who could forget the most important battle in Ferengi history?
10 Ferengi stood alone against 273 Litations.
As I recall, all 10 Ferengi were slaughtered.
They just lose really badly.
Do they all just die, right?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
just said they were all slaughtered.
And
But
that's
they
the
were
most-
there, and that's what counts.
And they took a stand, and it just didn't end well, but they still, they were there. They showed up.
They showed up.
It's like the Alamo of. It's like the Ferengi Alamo, I guess. Yeah, it's funny too because as we mentioned in when they're introduced in the Next Generation, they're supposed to be like a legitimate threat. Like I think they almost blow up the Enterprise, and they have these energy whips, and they're scary
a lot more
and
like violent and aggressive.
If they have a whip,
whip.
A whip.
She has a whip!
An energy whip.
He made him into a whipping boy. Whipping boy.
Whipping boy. Whipping boy.
This is a callback to Castle Freak. For those of you
No, we can't explain it. We need this. We need this.
You should know by now. That movie came out in 1995. I've been hearing that line for the last 35 years.
With each passing episode of Combs Crew, we start to inject references to the previous Combs movies that no one's seen, Castle Freak and Dr. Mordred, until just every episode is completely unlistenable because
More unlistenable, I think is what you're trying to
there's
say.
nothing but Castle Freak and Dr. Mordred
the
references.
audio quality, but you don't understand what we're saying.
Audio, you can understand what we're saying, but you can't understand what we're saying.
Yeah.
Oh God.
only true Jeffrey Combs fans will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a really fun episode though. It's there's a lot of really heavy Deep Space Nine, and then there's a lot of really goofy, fun one-off episodes, and this is one of the funny one-offs. I think we sent you a big list of recommended episodes. Like people make fan lists. It's like these are the episodes you should watch.
Yeah.
And this one doesn't really matter storyline wise, but this is one of the ones people recommend watching just because it's a good one-off.
Oh, it's super fun. Yeah.
Just a bunch of Ferengi in a ship just doing a mission.
Yeah, trying to get their moogie back.
And they're handling it their way. Like well, I don't know if we want to start going through the episode, but
well, I was going to say, like, when I think of the fun episodes, there's Magnificent Ferengi, where it's a ton of Ferengi. There's the baseball episode. Did we show you the baseball episode?
I think you mentioned you saw it.
Yeah. That's one I want to watch sometime.
Yeah, I remember watching that one a long time ago, but I would watch that again.
There's a whole episode where they play
so
baseball.
good. It's so heartwarming.
Then there's a fun episode where the ship becomes microscopic for some reason.
Oh.
And they're flying around like a Jem'Hadar installation on this little ship that's like 1 inch. It's like 1 inch wide and 1 inch tall, and so they're like the size of ants. And it's called One Little Ship, and it's just another stupid one-off, but it's just really fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
The show is all over the place.
It really is tonally. Like there's episodes that like go deep into like depression and just like in different ways with different characters, and it gets really, really heavy.
Yeah.
And then you have episodes like this where just Rom is just saying, "Oh no, no."
A lot of these start in Quark's bar. Like, it's like once you're in the bar, you're like, oh, this is going to be a fun episode. Everyone's just kind of drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for it, like, he mentions he's got all this, like, squill syrup.
Syrup of squill.
Syrup
And
of
yet
squill.
no one drinks the squill.
Yeah.
I know they
Which is
never
upsetting.
they never break that open.
Yeah.
Very sad.
Yeah, the episode starts in Quark's bar. He says he's recovered a bunch of syrup of squill. And he brings out this big plastic blue tub. And I swear to God, we have the same plastic tub. You can get this at the dollar store. Except they put some handles on the side to make it look more expensive. But I was like, I recognize that plastic
And some
tub.
cool decals.
I think we have
Yeah.
some computer
Spin
keyboards in our
decals.
tub. Yeah. I like how this episode starts, though, because Quark is telling the story about how he recovered the squill.
Mm.
And it's all about just the planet that made squill couldn't make squill because they had a drought. But then Quark found out that they were lying because they ordered some sort of rain slipper. And so like the story is that he just ordered this syrup. He just blackmailed them into giving him syrup. I like that he blackmailed them into giving him syrup,
Yeah.
which is really funny when you say it like that.
And just like it sounds repulsive, syrup of squill.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Like, what does it
everyone's
come
excited.
from?
Yeah, who knows? And like everyone's excited about it, or at least Lita is. But she's like one of the people who works at the bar.
And then at the end of his story, I swear he says like, "Come back tomorrow for grope cakes with squill."
Tomorrow morning, we are having a special on grope cakes topped with syrup of squill. That is for everyone who can afford it.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
I wrote down grope
Oof.
cakes, but maybe it was groke. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I like the contrast where he's telling the story about just blackmailing someone into giving him syrup, and then like the Starfleet people come in with some actual heroic tale about sneaking behind enemy lines to with the Defiant. Like they went to Cardassia for the first time or something.
Yeah.
With the first reconnaissance mission into Cardassian space since the Dominion's retreat. But the first one to make it back, anyway.
Yeah, it's during the war when it's really on.
Was that an episode that was before, or was that just kind of off screen?
I think it was
action?
off screen. Yeah, I don't think that.
Yeah, I don't think it's referencing an actual episode. I think they're just making up a story.
Yeah.
It's fun that if it is off screen too, where it's like they did this very heroic thing, and it's like they're going to do a really heroic thing, but it's just saving Moogie.
Yeah,
It's saving their Moogie.
Moogie. Yeah. Oh, the name Moogie is just so.
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, the way they all say it is really funny. It's like every line delivery of Moogie is like, what?
Moogie.
Moogie?
Moogie.
And I love her.
So Moogie's been kidnapped.
Right.
Well, that speaking of off screen, that entire thing happens off screen too, which is kind of strange. They say that I forget who, but they tell Quark that he's receiving a phone call from the Nagus. And then off screen, he learns that Moogie's been kidnapped. And it's not really explained why, but they want him to rescue her. And that's, I feel like the script is kind of like, it's cutting itself some slack there, where it's like, it all happens off screen. They're like, it needs to be you who's rescuing.
Yeah,
her.
it's a shame that you guys didn't get to see the Nagus though, because
Wallace Shawn.
Yeah, he's played by Wallace Shawn,
Oh.
and like he's basically playing himself, like Dan mentioned.
It's pure it's Wallace Shawn times 100. Where he's just doing this and he's just pure Wallace Shawn. It's a little intolerable, actually. I really don't like.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I like the impression.
Wallace Shawn is a strange career because he did like he's like a serious film guy. You know, he like directed a lot of films and made like really good stuff, like genuinely like Criterion Collection stuff. Then he did shit like the Grand Nagus too, and he's all over the place.
You got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And so the Magnificent Ferengi, is it a Magnificent Seven reference?
Are there
I
seven?
haven't even seen the Magnificent Seven since I was a kid, so I kept trying to remember if they were like,
because there's 7 of them, right?
yeah.
I thought
With
there were
the,
six.
I think there's 6,
I think
unfortunately.
there's 6.
Well, there's
Oh.
6 plus the prisoner.
Right. So
okay.
there you go. Yeah.
Or like
there you go.
Moogie makes 7.
There you go. So either
Yeah,
way.
we make 7.
Yeah.
And she has a real name. Her name is Ishka.
Ishka.
Oh.
Which is
Oh.
a shame that they don't call their own mother. I don't know. Who knows?
Is Moogie like a nickname for mom? For like mommy?
Maybe. I
It's
guess.
like almost what it sounds like when they say it to me.
It really does.
My Moogie.
But she's dating the Nagus, which is like a big deal. The Nagus is like the president of Ferenginar in a sense.
The king. And that's one problem with this show is, again, I mentioned this in the last episode, but every race has like one leader. And like one Star Trek problem is they often reduce an entire species to like what feels like one country.
Well, it's also weird that like
Yeah.
their planet is also kind of, it sounds like them. It's like as if like, well, their planet's Ferenginar and they're Ferengi. It would be like if we're humans and we live on like Humania or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Ooh.
Well, isn't Cardassia's
check
planet
the-
Cardassia? Don't they call it Cardassia Prime? Is like the Cardassian planet too?
Yeah.
It's just the writers just run out of ideas.
Well,
Like,
honestly, I don't think it's a writer thing. I think it's more like getting the audience to understand. Because
Yeah.
It's a
simple.
shorthand.
Yeah.
if you had to remember like what those creatures are called and what their planet is named, like that's a lot going on there, especially if you start piling on like dozens of races and stuff and locations.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. Like, there'll even be something of like, well, like you're almost as bad as the Breen, and I'm like, the what? Who? Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
they're in the show a little bit. They're these guys that wear helmets, and you don't really see them much.
Yeah, they don't even speak. They just make like weird like noises.
That does sound
very
annoying.
They wear helmets. That's their.
They're the helmet race.
They're the helmet race.
Helmetia.
They're from Helmetia.
Whenever the makeup department needs some time off, they bring in some Breen. They just slap a helmet on them and they're done.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And I mentioned that when we were watching this, but yeah, this is like 6 Ferengi on screen at once, and they're all kind of main characters. And I realized like there's been like 10, 20 hours of combined makeup work.
And not only just the Ferengi, there's like hardly any humans here. Like there's Vorta and there's Jemadar, so that's a lot going on there. Poor makeup.
Yeah, like
department.
what was the cumulative time and makeup chairs for everybody to get ready to get on set?
Man, probably quite a bit.
Yeah.
I forget what they would said, but I think one Ferengi takes at least like 2 hours in the chair. I think
it's
something
more
like that,
than
maybe more.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
One little thing I love is the guy who plays Quark, Armin Shimmerman.
Yeah.
I guess whenever he knows that there's going to be an episode with a bunch of Ferengi in it, he invites those actors over to his house the night before for like dinner, and like they all just like hang out and like get like comfortable with each other and get to know each other. It's so sweet to think about that.
Yeah.
Like, what did they talk about? I want to know.
Probably Dr. Mordred, I figure.
It's like an episode of Combs Crew, basically.
Yeah. They all just like gather around Combs, and Combs regales them with stories of his amazing career.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He just goes plot by plot of each of his movies.
But to get back to the plot,
Sure.
they need to rescue Moogie. For some reason, they don't explain, but it's okay. The Nagus is like, you need to rescue Moogie, Quark. You need to do it yourself. So Quark, again, it's not really explained, but he's like, I want to do this with nothing but Ferengis. Like, it's going to be all Ferengis from here on out. So then there's like a little montage where they just get the Ferengis one by one. They just convince a whole bunch of Ferengis to join them. First one is Nog.
Woo, Nog.
Our boy Nug.
Our boy Nog. So he has no interest at all at first because he's like a full Starfleet officer by this point. And he's like, I'm not going to do this.
Please.
I'm a Starfleet officer. I can't go running off with you on some half-baked rescue mission. I have duties to perform.
But then the way they convince him is they say that he can basically be the equivalent of Worf, like Worf's role. They say, you could be the strategics operation officer in our little mission. And he wants authority, so he signs up. That's all it takes for him.
Yeah, he really digs that. He's like, I'm on board. I like that as they're compiling their group, there's like, they hold up 2 fingers and then Nog's in. He's like 3 fingers and they like keep it going. It's really fun.
I love that too. It's such a cute little visual cue. Because they show 2 and then Nog shakes his head and he like shows 3.
Yeah.
They probably did want to do a Magnificent Seven thing, but just didn't have the screen time. They're writing the script. They're like, oh shit, we didn't have time to introduce 7 of these guys.
Yeah,
like you
we
said,
don't
like-
have enough makeup time to do a 7th Ferengi. So
There was somebody still in the makeup chair, and they're like, you know what, we have to start rolling.
Oh yeah, there's some other stuff too in this episode that's really funny when it comes to just like saving time, but we can talk about that later. The next Ferengi is Lek. I like Lek a lot.
Yeah.
I wish he kept.
that's awesome.
Who do you want eliminated? It's not that kind of job. Then why call an eliminator?
What's an eliminator?
Do you ever see him again? You never see him.
I think so.
I think he's a one-off. He's like the
Yeah.
strange Ferengi assassin that they call, and he's like sharpening a knife.
He's
What
just
were you
like a wild card. Like it's so great that he's just. I love that they're like, we'll pay you all this money, and he's like, I don't want money, and then it's like, it's gonna be a really hard, difficult thing, and he's like, all right, that actually sounds up my alley.
I've been told you like the opportunity to test your abilities. I enjoy a challenge. Then you should know this, that the person we're going to rescue is being held by the Dominion. The Dominion should be quite a challenge.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
Yeah, what do they call him? They call him an eliminator.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
a great term for an assassin. I love that.
Yeah, but just like he just sharpens knives in his free time too. Like
Yep.
I just want to know so much more.
He's a badass.
Yeah, he's
Pretty
cool.
He's the Ferengi all the other Ferengi want to be. Women Ferengi want to be with him. Male Ferengi want to be him.
I like that they include him because it makes the Ferengi a little bit less of a joke. Like the Ferengi in this show kind of run the risk of becoming a pure joke race in a way, you know, where he just.
Yeah.
But he shows that they actually can be scary and dangerous, I guess.
Yeah, like Rom and Nog are a little bit of like exceptions to the Ferengi rule, but yeah, Lek is definitely really out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was really funny to be introduced to Rom too and realize that he's Nog's dad. And yeah, he's different. He's just a really funny, like very kind of pure character.
Yeah. It seems like a nice guy.
You know, watching this episode, I realized that Rom is pretty annoying when you first start to watch him.
No.
Just stop saying that.
But then you grow to like him. I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
This,
Yeah.
This is going to sound really mean, but most of the actors who play Ferengi, like they don't look like the Ferengi and they don't sound like the Ferengi. But if you see like actual footage of the actor who plays Rom and listen to him speak, he basically looks and sounds exactly the same. That's kind of his vibe.
Well, this isn't a ROM podcast.
It's true.
Holmes podcast. Say what we want about ROM.
But he definitely has a much like sillier energy.
Oh, yeah.
than, like and it does kind of. It's nice to see the different kinds of Ferengi, like the way that they have some same core values or see the world in the same way, but all have very different like personalities and kind of attitudes towards.
Well, he's very different than Quark. He's like much more charming
Yeah.
than Quark.
I was
It
gonna,
is a good word to capture.
Yeah.
I was going to say he's usually like Quark's conscience, where Quark is like
Yeah.
the pure evil capitalist, and especially later on, Rom starts to kind of push back against that a bit and is more like reasonable,
Yeah.
ethical.
Yeah, and Rom has some really good moments in the series too, where he does some like really big heroic stuff, which you wouldn't expect from someone like that. But he's a pretty cool dude.
Oh, you know what? We skipped my favorite scene. My favorite scene in the whole episode, which is when Quark is telling Rom about how Moogie's been captured as they're crawling through these ducts. For some
Yeah, that's
reason,
great.
I think because Rom is working in the ducts. But then they just accidentally pop out in Cisco's office. And Cisco's just like, how can I help you, gentlemen?
May I help you, gentlemen? I was following you.
You must have taken a wrong turn.
It looks that way.
And it's completely unexpected. And it reminds me of that scene. There's a scene in The Simpsons where Homer is trying to slip on oil in order to sue the power plant. And he just kind of slides right into Mr. Burns' office.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of that.
He's like, can you like give me a little nudge?
Yeah.
Which is when he slides out the other way.
Yeah.
Yes?
Hello.
May I help you?
Could you give me a little push in the opposite direction?
Okay.
Thank you.
That's a scene.
There are some like classic like sitcom tropes through this though, like that one, the puppy, and then where they're just kind of like, oh, looks like we took a wrong turn, and he's like, yeah, looks like you did, and they just kind of like retreat and then like kick out the paneling somewhere else, and then that's the same thing too of like the character who doesn't want to do it until you tell him that like how dangerous it's going to be, and then just on that alone, and then I love it like later where he's like kind of upset when it seems like it's going to be a little bit more straightforward a mission. And he's like, I don't even want to go if it's just going to be easy. This is lame.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of his shtick. He likes the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After Lek, they get, I would say the weakest link is Quark's cousin Gala. Gala. Well, they didn't even say his name for a while. I was trying to remember his name. He's in prison. Usually he shows up and he's just kind of like an asshole, and he's more successful than Quark, and Quark is envious of his success. And that's
also,
kind
before he even shows up in earlier episodes, Quark references Gala all the time, as and he keeps saying like, "Oh, my cousin Gala has a moon.
Yeah, he owns a moon."
Oh.
And then I forget where you first see Gala. I whatever, but I just love how he keeps referencing like, "My cousin Gala's got a moon."
So now, Gale owns his own moon.
Wish I had a cousin who had a moon.
Yeah, for sure.
But poor Gala is in prison, and Quark actually pays to have him released so he could join his little crew.
I don't understand.
Quark paid your fine. You're a free man.
That was very nice.
Does Gala do anything helpful over the course of the episode, or is he just kind of the one who keeps...
He really doesn't.
The opposite.
He really is just the ultimate weakest link.
Yeah. I mean, and he has like this really pronounced like Southern drawl, too. He's maybe the most like redneck of the Ferengi, which I wasn't quite expecting.
Yeah.
I like that how the crew is described later. Is it Combs that we'll get to it, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into Combs here.
But
I'm combsing too early, I'm sorry.
Sorry not to.
But now that we've seen this episode, like Jack and I have seen this like maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times.
Oh, probably more than that.
I can confidently call Gala the weakest link. He doesn't need to be there. He doesn't do anything. After Gala, they get Brunt.
Liquidator Brunt!
That's X. Liquidator Brunt.
And
Our boy.
yeah, he steps out from the shadows. There's this kind of humorous conversation where they're talking about how they're going to get there. And they don't even have a ship, so they don't know even how they're going to travel to this place where Moogie's being held.
Yeah, they're all getting pissy at Quark for not even having a means to get to where they need to go.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even have a ship.
How are we supposed to get to this internment center anyway?
My ship.
Do we have a ship?
We'll get one. We don't have a ship.
Yeah. But then Brunt shows up. And I guess Brunt has a ship, and that's his... He wants to join because I guess at some point in the series he's lost his job as Liquidator. That probably happened in a previous episode.
And he wants to get in good with the Nagus and save his girlfriend. So if he helps with this mission, maybe he might get his job back.
Yeah. But I like that the sole reason he's there is because he has a ship and they need a ship. So he's like, I have a ship and you can use it.
But yeah, he like looks at everyone and he's, I found the transcript. He's like, you have a child, a moron, a failure, and a psychopath.
A child, a moron, a failure, and a psychopath. Quite a little team you put together.
Great combo. That's a great team right there.
That team's going to get stuff done. Does it say how he found out about their mission?
No.
Quark,
he's in the shadows. He hears stuff.
He's just been there.
Yeah.
Just waiting for people to announce a mission so he can step out and be like, I'm joining.
Yeah, Quark asks, I think exactly that. And then Brunt's just like, oh, I know things.
Yeah. There's really no reason for him to be there on Deep Space Nine, just listening to their conversation just from the shadows. But it's a
Ferengi episode, and he plays a Ferengi, so he needs to be in it.
And it's Jeffrey Combs, so he needs to be in it.
Yeah.
Well, so you're jumping into this episode without knowing about Brunt, but he's basically like a repo man for the Grand Nagus. And typically he's just like a straight up villain. And I don't remember all the episodes he's in, but he's just a straight villain in all the episodes. He's like...
Yeah, he's always fucking with Quark in some way, trying to like seize his bar, his assets. There's even an episode where he tries to seize like Quark's corpse.
Oh, wow.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
That's dark. Okay.
Oh, yeah, because don't Ferengi like sell the rights to their corpse while they're still
like
alive or something?
Discs of their corpse and like sell the discs.
It's like an NFT of your corpse.
Kind of.
That's timely, everyone, in 2021.
It's almost like if you were to make communion wafers out of your...
Yeah.
If you were to preemptively sell communion wafers of your body. I think that's what they do exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like stock.
Sounds good.
It's like buying stock in someone's body. So like the more powerful or popular someone is, the more the wafers cost, you know? It's actually
What do you do with it once you have it?
I don't know, you have it.
Yeah.
You've got it. You've got that token, man.
What do you do with most things?
What do you do with any art?
Look at him.
Yeah.
I was actually considering that episode to show you guys, but because he definitely plays just like a really just like mean character to Quark, but he's hardly in it. Even though like he's sort of a main driving force of that episode, he's hardly in it. So I picked this one instead.
Yeah.
So where do we leave off? We've got now 6 in our little...
That's everybody.
In our little crew.
Nope.
I love the training scene where they're training to rescue Moogie, but you don't know it's a holodeck.
Yeah.
And you see Moogie be brought out by 2 Jem'Hadar, and just a few of them shoot their lasers and they miss. One just drops his laser.
Rom just like bumps into a wall.
Yeah.
And then my favorite thing is the Jem'Hadar, I think, shoots Quark or shoots someone. And then
He shoots Brunt.
Shoots Brunt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brunt is almost kind of like, no, I don't. And then he just
Yeah.
And then the last thing you see happen in the simulator is Lek just like blasts Moogie. Just blasts her straight in the chest.
Not Moogie.
But he explains it. He says like, I knew our mission would fail, so I was putting her out of her misery.
And you shot Moogie.
I saw we weren't going to rescue her, so I put her out of her misery.
So at least they justify that.
Good idea.
I love that scene where it just goes as
so good. Yeah.
I love it.
And then I think
Just how quickly.
yeah. And then in the next scene, I think Rom is talking to Quark, and Rom says like, "Why are we doing this like commandos? Like, you know, we're Ferengi. We need to trade."
I think we've been going about this the wrong way. We're not commandos. We're negotiators.
Yeah, like let's do what we do best and negotiate. Let's trade. Quark was like reminiscing over how he got the syrup of squill and how proud he was of how he did it. And Rom's like, let's just do the thing that we're good at and find something that the Dominion want and we'll trade.
Yeah, Quark's like, I was the king of squill.
And to think, just a few short days ago, I was sitting on top of the world. The king of squill.
And finally, you see the squill. When we were watching this, I was saying, "Show the squill."
No, they show it in the beginning.
Did they show the squill?
Yeah, he opens up one of the tubs and he shows it up.
Oh man, I missed the squill completely. Somehow.
Yeah, well, you get another.
This one is good though. He's showing it off. He's kind of got it up against his face.
He's
Yeah.
kissing his cheek with the squill.
I know. I want to see how you drink it though. Like make a cocktail. There should be a show where it's just them making cocktails out of the bar, out of squill.
I think it's supposed to be like straight up maple syrup because they say they're going to put it on grope cakes.
I love syrup of squill on my groat cakes.
Yeah. What else do you put with grope cakes? Grope cakes, except syrup of squill.
It's very convenient. It's almost a little too convenient where they're like, we need to trade something to get Moogie back. And then Cisco is like, oh, we have a Vorta prisoner. That's just, we're handily holding onto this Vorta prisoner and you could trade this prisoner for Moogie.
Yeah. Well, actually, Kevin is from a previous episode.
He is?
Yeah.
You seen it before?
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all.
Rocks and Shoals he's in.
Rocks and Shoals.
Basically, he's captured by the Federation because he's got a whole bunch of Jem'Hadar and he's run out of the white that they need to survive. It's like a drug. And without it, they just die. And he was sort of cornered with on a planet with the Federation, and he realizes Jem'Hadar were gonna like.
Oh, that episode.
Yeah, so he sort of betrays his Jem'Hadar, so he just can live in the end, because he knows that like his Jem'Hadar are not going to have enough white to fight the Federation, so he just gives himself up. And then they've got him as a prisoner, and I think he mentions that like normally Vorta are supposed to commit suicide when captured, but he doesn't, which I like that.
Yeah.
He's very much like a weird exception where he's just like, nah, I didn't want to.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
And the Vorta have it rough though.
Yeah.
Like it's not a good situation.
So much suicide, yeah.
I know. I love the look of them though. They're so interesting and cool.
I like this actor too. He's really good.
Yeah.
Well, you said he reminds you of Matt and Kat's cat.
Yes.
Just
Atticus, yeah.
because his eyes are a little spread apart.
Yeah.
To me,
he's not around.
You've seen those Lasagna Cat YouTube videos, right?
Yeah.
He reminds me of the guy who plays John in the Lasagna Cat videos for some reason.
Ooh, I can see that
too.
Yeah.
Well, I love he's so low energy. He just is he seems like depressed. He just seems like over everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love, we're literally talking about him being like our cat. And then his line is like, all right, I'm going to go take a nap. And he just like walks off. And I'm like, yeah, that is exactly like our cat.
He's the emo Vorta a little bit.
A little bit.
The one note I wrote down was Kevin, not Kevin.
You're right.
It's Space Kevin.
He's not Kevin.
Just add one
Space
extra vowel and you're good. Take any normal first name, add an extra vowel, and that's it.
And you're done.
There's a shot. I think there's a shot now where you see the ship actually flying to the other station. And the Ferengi ship looks so shitty. It's so funny.
Are you insulting Jeffrey Combs' ship?
It's so ugly.
Oh,
he designed that ship himself.
Because
it is great. They're all just kind of like packed in there too. Like there's not quite enough room for everybody.
A lot of the races, they spent a lot of time thinking about what their ships look like. Like Klingons and Cardassians and Romulans all have really cool ships. With Ferengi, I think they just didn't have time to really put in that research.
Well,
so it looks so stupid.
A lot of times, like the shuttles or like the smaller versions or the smaller ships are like smaller versions of their bigger ships that are like nicely designed. So it is kind of like a weird small version of what the Ferengi ships normally look like. It's just so cute and like round.
Well,
it's very round.
It's like the Volkswagen Beetle of space.
They, for some reason, they made it the same like color as their skin. Like this, like the orange, the exact hue of their skin.
Yeah,
kind of weird.
Yeah. That was kind of weird.
I guess Ferenginar just has a real export of tan stuff or like weird reddish tan stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. We talked a little bit when we were watching about their outfits. They all have these great like waistcoats and kind of long jackets in the back and high pants and
I love them. They're gorgeous.
They all dress like
are great. Like I actually really like Brunt's the most. Lek is probably my second favorite. They're just so stylish.
They dress like Hobbit kings. Like
they do.
It's a Hobbit style, but a little more ornate.
Yeah.
There's lots of gold thread and stuff like that.
There's going to be some texture on the maybe like a little clasp.
One thing that's really funny is so they're going to this other station to pick up Moogie. And there's a line where it's like, oh, this other station has the same design as Deep Space Nine.
I was like, oh, that's convenient.
I know. It's almost like they're telling the audience, is like, we're going to use the same sets. It's like, don't expect any new sets in this episode.
Well, they go to this station once in the past. It's Terok Nor.
Is it Terok Nor?
No, Empok Nor. Sorry,
is this Empok Nor?
They go to Empok Nor, and the Deep Space Nine in its Cardassian name is Terok Nor. What I like about this is since it's a busted station, they show it at an angle in space. Yeah. Like, oh, it's busted. It's on its side. It's all like, which doesn't make any sense why a ship would be, or a station would be shot.
I was almost like expected. Like when you see like a bedraggled hotel in a movie where the sign's like hanging from one hook.
Yeah.
It's like.
But I think there is no right side up in space. So it's just...
well, exactly. That's why it's so silly. It doesn't make any sense. It's whatever.
So they bring the prisoner on board the station. They're hanging out in the infirmary. That's kind of their camp while they're waiting for the Jem'Hadar to arrive. I think they have Nog. They have someone. I think Ram does it. He sets up an alarm so that they know if the Dominion are approaching. There's a really funny shot. I think one of you mentioned it in the chat where they're sleeping. and they're just sleeping in this perfect little circle, and they're all just like
completely covered in blankets,
like
too.
head to toe.
It's just like little cloth mounds on the ground in a flower pattern. I love it.
Well, when the alarm goes off, they all sit up in unison and like pull off the blankets in unison. It's really fun.
And I love how I forget who was it? Cousin Gala? Or was it?
Oh yeah, it was Gala.
It was Gala. Yeah,
because Gala, all he does is he fucks up.
Yeah, all he does is fuck up. Yeah, and he screams, and I love this because.
What was that?
Who's screaming? It's Gala! The border! Where is he? I don't know!
There's other instances where other Ferengi have to scream, and it's always just like that. I love it. Just as like
it's such a great sound.
It's the first night and it's 4-hour shifts and he can't stay awake.
I think the prisoner escapes during the first 4-hour shift, right? Like immediately. I wonder if the sleeping in a circle is something that was intentional. Like they thought it'd be a fun character thing because they're like, oh, they're businessmen, so they sleep on their backs and wake up at a dime, because they wouldn't luxuriate in sleep because they want to use every minute of the day for commerce, I don't know. Or if it was just like a funny production thing where they just didn't even really realize how funny it looked the way they were laying down there.
I just love them fully covered in a blanket.
Yeah.
Who sleeps like just little cocoons on the floor?
Yeah.
Well, maybe the rains of Ferengi are so torrential that when they're not in their homes or whatever, they gotta just always, I don't know.
It's a good point.
That makes sense. So checks out.
Yes.
Get some dampness on your face.
Yeah.
So Cousin Gala messed up. The Vorta prisoner escaped and they assume he's trying to escape in their little Ferengi ship. So then there's a really funny scene. I think we all mentioned this in the chat where they run through hallways. I put hallways in quotation marks because they spend a lot of time showing them running through these hallways in both directions, and it's clearly the exact same hallway, 10 times. They film it from different angles. They move the barrel. There's 6 barrels in the hallway. Mm-hmm. They move the barrel so it looks like a different hallway, but it's just the same hallway again and
again. Was that the joke almost that they kept running through the same hallway because they didn't know where they were going?
It's hard to tell. I don't know.
I was wondering if they spent so much time on makeup. They're like, well, we don't have a lot of time for the episode, so let's just have them run through hallways for a little while.
Yeah.
I do really love the barrels will just be even slightly moved. It's like the same position, but on the other side of the wall, or they'll be 2 barrels. You're like, oh, completely convinced me. This is a separate space.
I think a lot of fictional worlds have a problem with too many barrels. It's a problem in
so many.
Fantasy, science fiction, video games.
Yeah, especially video games.
In real life, there's not that many barrels, but in all fiction, there's just too many barrels in all fictional worlds.
There's something really funny about space barrels to me too. I feel like there are better ways but I feel like it's always
it comes up in Star Trek.
Of those barrels.
Yeah, it comes up in Star Trek a lot too.
It's a barrel heavy series, right? There's a lot of barrels.
Yeah,
in Star
there's
Trek.
always a lot of barrels. Yeah.
They're good to hide behind. They have a lot of uses.
Yeah.
Well, they look
stir your syrup in them.
They look great. Everyone loves a barrel.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you have to choose between a barrel and a crate, you'll pick a barrel every day of the week, right?
Yeah. 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
You're picking a barrel.
Yeah, it's just a fact of life.
So they know. It's part of the utopian future of Star Trek, where it's no more crates, mostly barrels, because because people like them more.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Well, and I love this that the prisoner did not get away.
Yeah.
Kevin did not get away. And it's because they disabled something. But I love that Kevin's then why did you bother? Why did you burst in here and bother chasing me? And then he's like, it's because my brother sometimes messes things up. That he was we have this, but I don't trust Rom enough to actually be it's fine. No, we have to run.
Going someplace?
Apparently not. I couldn't get the impulse engines online.
That's because I had Rom disengage the induction matrix.
Then why did you bother chasing me?
Because sometimes my brother gets things wrong.
I love that big fake out where they just spend a while sprinting through the hallways in terror, and then it's oh no, he's fine, he didn't escape. Not even close.
Just pressing buttons.
And it's such a letdown too. It's oh, he couldn't start the ship. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I didn't know it started.
Well, look, they're not used to keeping prisoners.
Yeah.
It's not their thing.
At this point, I think the alarm goes off, which means that Jim and I are on their way.
All right, everyone relax. No harm done. We still have our prisoner.
What's that? It's the alarm I set up. It means a Dominion ship is approaching.
To the infirmary!
Let's go!
And they sprint back through the same hallways. You get the exact same shot in reverse.
To the infirmary.
Yeah, back to the infirmary. I think there's a halfway point in the episode where Jem'Hadar arrive. I think Nog opens the door to look at them, and there's like 10,000 Jem'Hadar with their guns pointed at the door. Yeah.
That's another like classic like kind of sitcom or like this type of show trope where he like goes and peeks and they're just so outnumbered, and they're even say something of like they're like practicing shooting where they're just gonna like shoot them all, and then Quark comes and is like, "Are they out there? Are there any out there?" And he's kind of like, "Yeah."
He's like,
yeah. Oh yeah, they're out there.
Yep.
Anybody there?
You could say that.
As I mentioned in the previous Star Trek episode, I think I was reading Save the Cat, the book about screenplays, and they're talking about how you're saying that at the midway point of the screen time, the character should be like either at the highest high or the lowest low. And I noticed that this is the exact halfway point is when they open the door and there's like 10,000 Jem'Hadar pointing their guns at them. And you're like, absolutely impossible to get past the situation.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I told you guys previously that this episode had another guest star, and it would be the last person you expected to see, like the very last name you could possibly imagine.
It really was.
Yeah, I did not see that coming.
Oh man.
Yeah, Iggy Pop plays Yelgun. Is that what it is?
Yelgrin. I think that's how you pronounce it.
I don't know.
Yeah, the executive producer of Deep Space Nine, Ira Bear, is a huge Iggy Pop fan, and he actually tried to get him for earlier episodes, but Iggy Pop wasn't available. But Iggy Pop was actually like into the idea of like being on the show, and so finally he was able to get him on as Yelgrin. Yelgrin?
He stands out. Like you can't.
Oh my gosh!
Well, it's one of those things where I don't think I recognize him as Iggy Pop, so I Googled. I was like, this has to be somebody. This has to be some sort of cameo.
Yeah.
It's Iggy Pop. He has like a very strange, deep voice, almost enunciates a little too well.
What a touching and heartfelt reunion. I'm glad I was here to witness it. Now, where's Kevon? I wish to conclude this transaction.
He really does, yeah. And he's Vorta too. And are they all clones?
Yeah, I think they're supposed to be.
So all the clones look different from each other.
They have different like lines of clones, and I guess just whatever the founders like, they just make more of those clones.
But you have a Jeffrey Combs edition. Just go with that.
Well,
no offense to Iggy Pop, but like, come on.
I know.
Yeah, I love that you have the Iggy Pop clone, and you're like, let's keep doing that one. He looks normal.
Well, I guess they have a thing where they only want one clone going at a time. So, which I mean,
he's not a Wayun though. He's a different. No, there's more than one Vorta at once.
Sorry, I didn't. They can, only one like type of Vorta, only one line. Like normally you don't want more than one Wayun or more than one Yelgrin. Like we watched that one episode that had 2 Wayun in it, but it was like an exception because they thought the previous one was defective. So I guess just in that sense, that's why they're not all Jeffrey Combs, which is a shame.
Yeah, I'm imagining the Vorta cloning machine with just 2 big red buttons. One says Pop and the other one says Jeffrey Combs. And then
there's a Kevon one too.
Yeah.
The occasional Kevon pops out.
No, they got rid of that button. That button they took out.
Smartly.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought Iggy actually looked really good.
Yeah.
It was great makeup.
Yeah.
Kind of looked better than he does in real life. To me.
Yeah.
Like skin was all smooth. It looked really good.
The Vorta.
Got those pretty purple eyes.
Yeah, the Vorta makeup really looks good on him. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I think he's really good as a Vorta, except I mean his voice does it is distracting because his voice is so different from everyone else's voice, especially the other Vorta's voices. He does a really good job. There's one scene later on I don't like where one of his line deliveries drives me crazy. We can talk about that later. Actually, I guess we can talk about it now.
Yeah, I want to know.
Well, what is it?
So in this plot, they are going to exchange Kevon for Moogie. But at this point, Gala finds out that Quark is basically ripping them all off because Quark was going to get 50 bars of latinum as a payment, but he told them it was going to be 20 so that they get less money. At this point, they find out because Rom spills the beans by accident. He mentions 50 bars of latinum.
We're actually going to get the reward money. 50 bars of gold-pressed latinum.
50 bars? You said the reward was 20.
That's what Ron said, 20. He said 50.
And then Cousin Gala just, again, his only role in this episode is just to mess up because he's ready to murder Quark, which I didn't really notice before.
Yeah.
You've had this coming for a long time, cousin!
Really quickly.
He's like, I should have done this a long time ago. And he shoots at Quark, but Quark kind of ducks out of the way and he just kills the hostage.
I hate Ferengi.
Yeah.
Yeah, how ungrateful. He would still be in jail if it weren't for Quark.
That's right. Yeah, so he kills Kevon.
Yeah, and he's dead.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where, I like the scene where Nog is like running tests on him and Nog's like, yep, this man is dead.
Well, there's no doubt about it. According to these readings, this man is dead.
Which would be a great spinoff of just Dr. Nog.
Yeah.
He like went to Starfleet, became a Starfleet doctor.
Well, this is like poor Kevon's like last words too are just like, I hate the Ferengi.
Yeah. I hate Ferengi.
But I just do love there's this like common thread of people just being exasperated with them. Yeah. And even his like death words are just like, oh, you guys are so annoying.
I think Iggy Pop says too that they're like the most annoying race since the Brain, which you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
It's just like the writer insert. The writer is like, I hate these Ferengi. Yeah, I like the idea of the Dr. Nog series where he just says, this man is dead, and the man is never dead. The man's like, I'm fine.
He's always alive.
No, I know.
This man is dead.
I'm Kevon.
Well, wait, so what's the line that you really don't like?
So Nog finds out that he might be able to reanimate. Again, we mentioned it. All these Jeffrey Combs things is reanimation and life after death.
They just needed a reanimator.
But Nog has this silly plan to like put these little brain stimulator devices on his head and kind of remote control the dead body so he can walk around and he can do it prisoner.
It is more weaken it brains.
Yeah.
Like it is. Yeah. It is just moving a corpse around to make people think it's still alive.
Yeah, I love that. But it's going to take him a minute to put all these stimulators, these neural stimulators on him to make him walk around. And so he's trying to buy some time because Iggy Pop is back and Iggy Pop wants the prisoner now. And this is a line I don't like where Quark is trying to buy time. He's like, he just needs a few minutes. And Iggy Pop goes, no, not in a few minutes, now.
I will in a few minutes.
No, not in a few minutes, now.
And just the way he says now. The way he says now is so bratty. It sounds like a kid. I mean,
it. The Vorta are supposed to be negotiators too, and that doesn't really feel like a very negotiated line.
He kind of has a petulant line later too, where he's like, they come out later and they're like, okay, we're ready. Are you ready? And he's like, I've been ready for hours.
You ready?
I've been ready for hours.
So grumpy.
Again, another audience insert there. Like, I've been watching this episode for a full hour.
Oh, man.
Still haven't gotten Moogie back.
Somewhere around here, we learn about why Moogie, where she went somewhere to firm up her lobes.
Yeah.
And that's when she got, like, kidnapped?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She went to... Did she say she flew to Vulcan? I forget where she went.
You look beautiful.
My lobes haven't been this firm in over a century.
She went somewhere...
They know their lobes.
Yeah.
There's more stuff about Ferengi culture you learn in other episodes. Like, women are usually naked, right? They're almost always naked.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. And... like, Ferengi women have, like, a moment in Deep Space Nine where, like, they get more rights and stuff. It's a whole thing.
Well, I guess all Ferengi women are supposed to be naked all the time. And Moogie is clothed, and that's, like, because she's...
progressive.
She's progressive.
Yeah.
But I love it because it's such a great little, like, meta television thing where, I mean, clearly she's clothed because they couldn't have a naked Ferengi woman character.
Yeah.
First of all, like, censorship, and secondly, just like no one wants to see a naked. No one wants to see.
I think they're cowards, but
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I liked her outfit too. She was She was really rocking the jewelry.
Right, yeah.
She had like the layers.
Yeah.
Wait, so earlier when Rom yells no,
Just stop saying that.
is that because he was told that she has a boyfriend?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, he just found out his mom has a boyfriend in it, and he was kind of weirded out.
Well, the boyfriend is the Grand Nagus. It's like the king of the
Ferengi,
entire species, which is crazy.
I mean, I want more just like Moogie and her boyfriend. Like that sounds like a whole.
Yeah.
Well, it exists.
Oh God, you're right.
For better or for worse.
Again,
but
I love Wallace Shawn, but he's pretty rough as the Nagus.
oh, dude, I don't know. I love I love it. But
That's Wallace Shawn.
Also, you don't see the Nagus in this episode, but he's doing that voice, and he has like his makeup is over the top. He's like Jabba the Hutt.
well, he's like the king of Ferengi, so he,
and he
he's
has
big presence.
he has a staff, and the staff, like the orb on top of the staff, is just a Ferengi head. It just like looks like
Oh my God,
no, it's like a golden Ferengi head. So he's just completely over the top.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
Yeah.
when they first see Moogie, to just make sure that she's okay before like the trade and everything, there's like a little bit where I love this, where they have like sort of a spat of like, oh, is she really her? And they have this like little argument, and then they're like, oh, family. And then Yelgren, the Vorta Iggy Pop, is like, no, not really. I don't have a family. And they're like, oh, well, that explains a lot.
Family. You understand.
Not really. I was cloned.
No parents? That explains a lot.
I was cloned.
I'm a clone.
Yeah. Like, not really.
No, really.
No.
There's not much left.
Is this when Nog?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Is this when Nog cuts into Moogie?
Yeah. You just, I guess, well, if there are changelings in this series, and like, I guess he wanted to make sure that she had real blood and not like changeling liquid.
Yeah, because in the show, a lot of people are like posing as real people, but they're really changelings.
It's pretty brutal, though. He just like slices her hand like without any sort of hesitation.
Yeah.
He could have just gotten like a little pinprick or something of blood.
Yeah,
but
he's like cutting up grandma. He's like, give me your hand. Ah!
Or he could have asked for consent. He could have just been like, is it okay if I get a drop of blood? For
He's
God's
just like
sakes.
in little commando mode.
Yeah, I
so
know.
Sounds like Moogie.
Only one way to find out. Ow!
Yeah, that's blood, all right.
Yeah, Moogie's pissed too.
Yeah.
She's like, I want to cut you back.
Yeah.
But there's not much more in this episode. So they find out they can control the Vorta with this radio controlled mechanism, basically. And they do the prisoner exchange, except the Vorta's kind of walking. He's walking Weekend at Bernie's like. He's like kind of this zombie walk.
It's such a great
I
scene.
really was like, I was like, is it gonna be a remote control? Like, kind of
Yeah.
joking, and then it's literally a remote control. Nog is just like hiding behind the wall,
Like,
like
I'm trying.
trying to get him to walk straight. It's so great.
I like when Iggy Pop sees him shambling towards him and is like, what have they done to him?
What have they done to him?
Yeah.
Like he thinks that the Federation has tortured him so badly that he's...
And it's worse too, because they killed him.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
They didn't just torture him, he's dead.
Well, and it's so sad because he's just mad because like he was just gonna torture him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the scene earlier where they, with part of the deal they work out is basically saying like, well, you really need this prisoner. Like, you can't attack us because you would just kill him too. And they're like, well, we don't really care. He's kind of going to end up dead anyway. But they're like, but you don't know what he told the Federation. So you're basically going to need to like torture him until you find out everything. And they're like, oh yeah. And then they go back and are so excited that they've successfully done this deal. Like, oh yeah, and we reminded them how badly they're going to have to torture you. So thanks for that. And then they shoot him.
It's actually clever. It's a clever piece of writing, like reminding the audience or telling the audience how badly he'll be tortured. So that way, when he gets shot in the chest, you don't feel that bad.
And like, they do say too that like after torturing him, they're going to kill him. So, I mean, yeah. Poor guy.
Poor guy, rough arc. But I guess, I'd almost rather get shot
and also
before they hand over.
Yeah, and in the episode that they did capture him, and like he basically like had his whole squad killed intentionally. So he's kind of not the best person.
No.
But I like how he's shambling down the hallway. And eventually he just like hits the wall and just is kind of stuck in the
Quark
wall.
is telling Nog, like, straighten him out.
Straighten him out.
Straighten him out.
Straighten him out. Straighten him out.
I'm trying.
And he gets stuck in the wall just like the way a Roomba might get stuck in the corner of your room.
Oh man, that poor actor. Oh my gosh, he did a great job. But like, you just
really
have
did.
to slam your face into a corner again and again.
When he gets stuck in the wall, I think this is when Iggy Pop realizes that it's all a trick. And they open fire, and I forgot the name of the assassin one. Lek. Yeah, Lek finally he like tosses a blade straight into a Jem'Hadar, which is pretty cool. You actually see him do
that's
his
awesome
stuff. And then I forget who, but like the other Ferengi actually blow up the last Jem'Hadar because there's only 2 left. We skipped this, but there were 1,000 and they negotiated down to 2. And then like the last shot of the episode is actually just the Vorta just bouncing against the wall. Like even as I think Quark has a line like, "Would you please turn him off?" And for some reason,
Nog's like, I can't.
Would you please turn him off? I can't. The transceiver is jammed.
Well, they're kind of laughing about it. Like, I do love, and they just kind of like, they just walk off screen like, well, we did it. It was crazy, but we did it. And then it's just poor Kevon's body just...
Is it going to do that for like eternity?
Eternity.
Like, until someone finds him, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, eternity makes it sound very rough. It's like an eternity of bouncing against that wall.
It's true.
Yeah,
forever Roomba stuck.
And also, they've got Yelgren as a prisoner too.
What do we do with this one?
We'll take him with us. He'll be our gift to Starfleet. They give us a Vorta, we'll give them one.
Ferengi.
I know. You hate us.
And he's just annoyed. He just mainly seems annoyed.
Yeah, he's like, I hate Ferengi.
Yeah. That's it.
It was magnificent. It was a great episode.
Yeah, it was really fun seeing Jeffrey Combs in the makeup, in the voice as Brunt. Like, it was a really different feeling than Weyoun.
Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah, just his voice, just the way he looks. It's so different. But he does. I love his character.
I don't know how many episodes there are, but there are some episodes where you see Weyoun and Brunt, or there's at least one episode.
There is one episode.
There's only one.
Yeah, and Jeffrey Combs actually mentions that he wished there was an episode where like he was on screen as like one of them and the other was like in the background or something at the very least. But I guess that would have been a lot of just production and money, and it just never came to be. But there is one episode where both Brunt and Weyoun do show up, just not on screen together.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking like how great. I mean, this almost would have been the perfect episode to have Weyoun representing the Dominion.
Yeah.
But one, the Iggy Pop, and two, I wonder if just the logistics of doing the makeup, they were like, we can't have Jeffrey Combs having to be Brunt and then take off all the makeup and put on the Weyoun.
Yeah, it's a good point. Iggy Pop kind of ruined it. If Iggy Pop didn't join, they might have done Weyoun, right?
Well, it would have been. Damn.
I feel like we really could have done it because it's not like you looked at Combs's Ferengi character and were like, that's Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah.
Like, you could have just been like, that's Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're really...
People would know. We would know.
They're not really in the same frame that much even, because usually they're like on opposite ends of a hallway, because
it's true.
Iggy Pop has like his own little Jem'Hadar bodyguards, and then the Ferengi on the other side.
Yeah, and Brunt looks so different from Jeffrey Combs that you might be able to, kind of just from like behind or like a side view, kind of fake it. I don't know. Yeah. It's a shame. Oh, well.
If we had millions of dollars, we could remake this episode and make these changes, but alas.
Do you think we could do it with machine learning or AI or something? Because you've seen these things where...
Probably.
You've seen these videos where like they recreate someone's voice perfectly or someone's face perfectly. So we can make an all Jeffrey Combs Star Trek episode with... Or at some point, we'll have the technology to do this.
Someday.
Yeah.
Someday.
One thing I have in my notes that I really want to bring up is, I guess out of all of... or one of the worst alien makeups to just hear with is Ferengi. I guess the Ferengi makeup makes it really hard to hear, which is hilarious since their ears are so freaking big. Yeah. But I'm just imagining like all those 6 guys in Ferengi makeup not being able to hear each other and just being like, what?
Yeah.
Just like screaming at each other.
Like if you have to have somebody off screen who's like making sure that people are hitting their lines because they're just like, did they do it? Did they say their line?
Yeah. When you're wearing the Ferengi costume, it's almost like you're listening to an old episode of Combs Crew. That's how muffled it is.
Yep.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
Well, we did it.
Thanks for watching that, guys.
Oh, that was so fun. Yeah, I really love this kind of special ones you pull out, and then it's been really fun to see Combs's different
I'm a Combs completionist, so we need to see him in every single role.
Yes.
Let's hope the hosts of Combs Crew are Combs completionists.
I actually only want
enough.
It's true.
We must watch all the Combs.
Oh God.
Combs.
Actually, you've got the spreadsheet. How many total items are there in that spreadsheet?
Quite a bit. Quite a bit.
What's the number of rows in that spreadsheet?
I could get it up, but I was like, the main part of the spreadsheet is movies, so it doesn't even cover shows.
Oh my God.
So there's even more.
Like, what's the row count? Here, she's scrolling down the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Scrolling.
Let's see.
I think about 70?
90, yeah.
Approximately
like
70.
75. Like movies, though.
And he's, making new movies all the time.
That's
so,
true.
Yeah.
Combs Crew can go forever.
Forever.
I would respectfully ask him to pause until we can catch up. If he's listening, just please wait a moment so that we can just catch up a little bit.
Just a brief
Or you can
pause.
film the movies, but just don't release them yet because we got too much to catch up on.
Or release them to us early.
Right.
So we can watch them in advance.
Yeah.
That's
Before they
that's
come
what
out.
we're working up to. Well, you guys, what was your favorite part of this episode?
Jeffrey
comes. Okay.
Oh, man.
I thought we were supposed to make it worse every time. I was going for it this time.
Oh, man. I was actually trying this time.
trying to make it worse or trying to make it better?
Better.
No, you can't make it better. What were you thinking?
Sometime we'll discuss this in advance.
Yeah.
No, it's perfect the way it is.